previous session, we understood the concept of creating table and persisting data into the table, that is storing the data into the table in an easy way. So today let us understand how can we fetch the data from database, how can we update the data, and how can we delete the data. So that complete CRUD operations we are going to perform today. Now let us see how can we fetch the data here. So we are having a table of employee class and having only one data. So let me add multiple data here. So how can we add multiple data? Just for this object, what I will do, I'll just make it as 2. Okay, primary key should be unique, right? If you give 1, again it will tell duplicate key. So we should not use the duplicate key here. Okay, so and let me make it as some 1000 years. Developer name, employee name is developer. Okay, let me add multiple data so that what I will do, I'll copy and I'll create multiple objects. Each object will be act as a each row, and these are all different objects, so different rows it will be acted. So but here the id must be different or else it will not work. Okay, now I need to, so if I have just created the data objects here, but I didn't save the data. So to save the data, we have to use the persist method. And beginning transaction, committing transaction one time is okay. Whenever you're calling persist, so multiple times the data is going to be saved here. So what I will do, I will copy this. So we have created 4 objects and we are saving the data. So I'm going to save at once. Yeah, so now our data has been inserted into the table. So let us check once. Go to DB and check. Yeah, all the data has been. What I will do, let me create a new class, fetch employee. So while fetching employee, so first what I will do, persistence. First I'll create the entity manager factory object. Okay, so with the persistence name here, Karthik. So you can give your name also if you have configured in the persistent.xml as your name. Next, entity manager factory dot create entity manager, which will helps to create the entity manager, which is useful for CRUD operations. And do we need the transaction here? We don't require. Why? Because we are fetching the data here, right? So we are not modifying any data in the database, so we don't require transaction here. So we are just fetching the data, so that will be taken care by the entity manager itself. So in entity manager there is a method called find method, okay, which will accept two attributes. One is the class type. The class type is nothing but the entity class type, and the second one is nothing but your primary key, that is id. So which data you need to fetch? So first, which what is our entity class? Employee. So I'm going to give employee dot class, employee class type, and what we are going to give here, the primary key. Which data I need to fetch, I will give. So I want to fetch the master data. Okay, that means the id which is having 5. So I will give here 5. Okay, so it will return the employee object. If you have given here student class, student dot class, it will return the student object. If you given master object, it will return, because the return type of find method is generic type. So whatever you are giving here, the same type it is going to return. We fetch the employee object. Now let us check whether we are having the data properly. We got the data properly. Employee name. So let us run and test this. See, observe, we got the data here. Employee ID, employee name, and employee age. If I have changed the ID to something like 2, and I am saving this and running this based on the ID. So the ID which is having 2 is nothing but the developer who is having the age of 1000 years. Yeah, so we are getting the proper data. Hope you guys got a clarity on this.
Interesting method.
Let me generate toString here, and instead of writing these many lines, so here internally toString will be called, so the data is going to be printed based on toString. The format will change. We'll move to next topic.